All right, so welcome to our scheduling video. My name is Devin, and I will be walking you through our newly updated scheduling module. Scheduling is currently available on Plus, Professional, and Unlimited roasting accounts. So to use scheduling, what you'll want to do is you will go up to Roasting, and then select Schedule. To get started, you hit Create Schedule. And from here, you're starting on the day that you defaulted on. Today is the 3rd when I'm creating this, so here I'm going to choose the 3rd, and then all I have to do is go down to Profile for my single origin and choose it. Scheduling does require you to have a roast profile for your coffee, though we highly recommend it for your roasting as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose my Ethiopia right here. And what you'll see is there's this little highlight next to it that says it's specifically for my Loring Kestrel, and my batch size is 35 kilos. Also, when I selected that, it gave me a weight loss percentage that's associated with my profile. You can always mention information underneath your profile. We highly recommend it. One last thing is we have a specific component linked with this profile, so then I don't have to go and select it. Then you can choose machine. I could change this from my Kestrel into, say, my Attila, though it is currently restricted to this machine, so there's no use changing that. And then last, I want to choose my worker. So I'll say Andrew's going to do this roast. An important thing to know is that you can also add notes to roasted batches. This is not just roasted batches, this is a note that the roaster will get to see before he starts roasting. So if you want to say that this order is going out to Cafe Italiano, then that way they know that this is specifically for them. There's a few other ways that you could use this, which we cover in our scheduling manual, but no need to cover that now. So next I clicked Calculate Batches. I can always move back to select coffee, but I'm going to go to Calculate Batches. And from here, what I want to do is I want to say how much roasted coffee I need. So let's say I need 32 kilos of roasted coffee. This means that I'm going to need a 37.559 total green. And then I'm able to see that I have 35 kilo batch size, which means I need 1.07 batches. I know that I need exactly 32 kilos of coffee, so what I can do is I could say do another batch that's 2.45 kilos and just say add 2 batches, or I could say actually I know that at the end of the day I'm going to get another order, so I can say round up to full batch. That means I'm doing 2 batches of 35 kilos, which takes 70 kilos of green, which will yield me 59.64 kilos of roasted coffee. That's, in theory, assuming we have the correct weight loss percentage. So then all I have to do is click Add 2 batches, and it will create the 2 batches that I had already created, and it puts them in an unpublished format, which is notified on this side. Next, I'm going to create a pre-roast blend. So from here I can go into profiles and I could select any of my pre-roast blends. One would be Alex Blend or Andy's Friday profile, which each have their own inventory. But instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose my Thundercat blend. It's a 20 kilo roast. My weight loss is 14.5% for the entire roast. I know my machine already because it's restricted to a machine. I'm going to say D needs to do these 2 roasts, or this group of roasts. And instead of 40 kilos, I know that I need exactly, let's say 65 kilos of roasted coffee. So here I know that I need 76, it's 3.8 batches, which means, I've got a certain amount. I could say round up, which means I need 40 of these 2 green inventories, which will yield me a 68.4 kilos of roasted coffee. Let's say that this order comes in on a regular basis. What I can do is actually add this to my repeat schedule and say weekly on Friday, I want to schedule these 4 batches of Thundercat blend using these 2 inventories. Once you've decided on that, you will need to say repeat until, and then choose a date in the future. Let's say June 1st. This will calculate when I will run out of a coffee. So it shows that we will need 520 kilos, but we only have this much coffee. So instead we can go back to a date and say April 11th. but I'm nearly out of green 1, so we can go back a little bit further and say the 31st, which means we can continue to schedule that. What we can do is we could say add the 4 weeks of 4 batches. And that's actually going to create this into the future. So here I can see that I created these 4, and since I've created them into the future, it's going to auto-publish them instead of just creating them as drafts. So if we go to the weekly view, and we pull up next week, we will also see that Thundercat Blend has been created here. The last thing I want to do is I want to schedule a certain amount of my Funkalicious blend, which is a post-roast blend. So here I can go to post-roast blend, scroll down, and say Funkalicious. If this didn't exist, there is a way to just add in components. So let's say it was 50% of one thing and 50% of another. I can then choose my Andy's Friday and then put in the information and then also choose my DRG test and then assign those two. So that's not a problem. But what I do want to schedule actually is my Funkalicious blend. So here it's actually a pre-roast blend blended with my Ethiopia single origin. So I can say, all right, I've got, Andrew doing these, and then I've got Dean doing these, which is reversing it, and then I can say add note, and I'm going to say Funkalicious. I believe I spelled that correctly. Yep. And then I can say calculate batches. And all I really need for this is I'm going to need about 40 kilos of roasted coffee. So it's going to calculate that out for me. And it's showing me that I'm only going to need this much. So what I can say is that my scheduled green is actually going to be 5.29 because I don't want to do more than one batch. And then for this one, I can actually say that my batch size will be the same. And then we only need to do one batch of each and then blend them together. So when we have that done, we can add those 2 batches. So those that were just added, today we're on Friday, so I'm going to go actually to the daily just so we can see it. These have all been added in the chronological order that I created them. If I click on it, I can see my notes. I have an idea of what's going on. I could change any of that key information and then update it. But what I want to do is I want to publish this, and then I want to sync it with my roasting intelligence on my computer. So then the roaster can actually see the schedule and move it around. But before I do that, what I want to do is I want to say, I want to change the order of these roasts. So I'm going to move this Ethiopia up underneath. And then I'm going to move this Thundercat down. So now I have all my Ethiopias up at the top and my Thundercats below. And then I know that one batch size is going to be larger, which I put at the end, and one that's smaller, which I'll also put at the end. So then from here, I'm going to say publish. And that's going to publish all 6 batches that weren't published. And then we're ready to roast. So all of this has been accounted for. We could see how much scheduled coffees there are, which ones are recurring based on this logo. But I'm going to go ahead and come down here, and we can look at roasting intelligence. So within roasting intelligence, we currently can go to our scheduled roast, pull that up, and we'll see that our schedule is empty. So starting the day with an empty schedule wouldn't work. So we can go to account, synchronize with server. And we can see our schedule. So we can go through and choose them in any order that we choose. Obviously, this roast by Andrew after Dean might not be ideal, but if I scheduled that intentionally, we're good. So from here, what I can do is I don't have to go in and select my Ethiopia and then choose who I am and then say the batch size and then hit start roasting. in between each batch because that'll automatically reset, right? So instead, what I can do is I can start off blank, select the roast that I want to do, and then just hit start whenever I'm ready to start roasting. So from here, I've done my roast. I'm not actually going to do a roast. I'm just going to start and stop so it saves it as a roast. And that roast, out of the 3 Ethiopias that we had, we now only have 2. That's because it's been checked off of our list, but if I pull up our scheduled roasts, I can see that there are 3, and this one is done. These other ones are pending. If I saw that it wasn't synced underneath completed rows, which it's been synced. If it wasn't synced, I could always go back up and say sync with server, but you shouldn't need to. From here, this list is still showing as published, and that's because we haven't refreshed the page. So here I can say refresh. And all of my roasts that were synced are going to be showing in a dark green, and then the roasts that I've completed will be in light green, so we can see them here. This schedule can be edited after syncing. Once you edit it though, so let's say I'm going to move this 20 kilo roast, which might not be allowed based on the profile, it's not. But let's say I want to create another roast. I'm just going to schedule, we've got one last order. We're good here. I know that I need an extra 15 kilos. I need 1/2 batch. Say add 1 batch. So here this isn't synced. So what I can do is then I'll have to tell someone to sync this with the server, otherwise they won't know. So now that we've done that, what I want to show you is actually those steps that we went through on the tour again, just so that you have an idea. So we can drag and drop batches between machines and days. So if I go to select multiple, I go to a weekly view, I can actually say, hey, you know that roast that we had on Tuesday? We're going to select that, and we're going to delete it. That roast was done, it wasn't marked off, we're good. Select it and delete it. It's been deleted, there's no way to go back. These roasts, however, need to be moved to Saturday. Our roaster's down, we called in Andrew, and he's going to roast tomorrow. So once these have been moved, they are going to move back into an unpublished. We're good to go. I can say publish. It's going to give me a notification that the RI doesn't know, and then we can go into RI and sync that. So then that's going to show me tomorrow, these rows haven't been synced, then you're good to go. So from there, next in our tour is to look that we can move between the views, post-roast blends. Last thing with the post-roast blends is that there's this blend recipes page. So when I went and selected my Funkalicious, it's because I created it in here. From this page, underneath the more option, you can say add blend recipe, create a blend name, say which profiles it is, and then what percentage each of those profiles are to that blend recipe. It's very easy to use, very easy to edit. So you just hit edit, it's going to take you to the same page, and you're good to go. The more information you save to a profile, the more beneficial using blend recipes will be. All right, and then we're back on the tour. So selecting multiple batches, which we already could have done. So if I say here, select these 2, and now when I go to move, these 2, then I can say change date. I can select Saturday and say move batches, and that's going to automatically move them for me. Cool. So additionally, you can print. It's going to show you what you want to print, and basically it's going to give you a PDF of this page based on what you said you wanted. So here I can see my schedule, you can see what my summary per profile, per green lot were, etc. Cool. You can also compact overview. So this view shows me Thundercat blend, and then I have 2 green components. They're just called GR. It's not giving me that much information. It actually makes it harder for me to see what's going on. So what I can do is I can filter off this lot information and see just by the name of the profile. This is beneficial if you know the name of the profile. It's not always going to benefit you in the future if you need to change it based on inventory. So you can always filter this back on to see that. You can see a summary of your schedules, which will be down here. And then also, last but not least, you have that auto calculating, which we already looked at. So yeah, that was scheduling. Hopefully it helped you out and you have a better idea about how to use it.